I'm going to go ahead and hit the intro. No, we have not been kicked off of YouTube again there, Rob, despite my best efforts. Anyang Hashem Nika, baby. Yeah, we're running a little behind. I got a little caught up trying to do the thumbnail this morning. Got a little behind. No big deal. So how you doing, Sugar?
I just want to point out that's probably the first time you've had a little behind in like 30 years. Dad jokes. Dad jokes.
Yeah. Hova says, Konichi wa, 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 wa.
Anyhow, yeah, so...
and Ben says, FTP and FJB. Roger that, baby. Pitt Danny mentions tragedy in Rockdale County, Honey Creek. Yeah, so apparently there was a gunfight in my backyard, and I just missed it.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It was, one street over. It was right there.
Yeah, yeah. No, look, I just... We're on YouTube, right?
We are.
So yeah, then I don't have anything to say about the gunfight that happened right around the corner.
Yeah,
there are things I could say.
I don't know enough about it to say it was a tragedy.
There are things I could say, and they would be accurate things to say.
Because, if you'll recall, there was an incident a couple of years ago that was also right around the corner. I'm just right down the street from us, where I think it was 5 teenagers were shot and killed.
I thought it was 3, but it was...
no, there were 5 involved. 3 of them died on the scene and 2 got away. The 2 got arrested later.
Yeah, they tried to rob the guy right at sunup.
Right.
And he just happened to have his gun right there with him.
And the headline was teens gunned down for about a day or 3, and then it was, no, what actually happened was a truck driver was getting his truck ready in the morning, and 5 masked, armed men whose age is irrelevant when you are masked and armed and trying to rob somebody in his driveway in the dark took fire because they decided to crank up the F around scale to where it met the find out matrix and were disappointed with the results.
I heard somebody say that you can refer to that point as the dildo of consequences. I'm sorry, I should have let you.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
That's like, wow, I don't know. Okay, so actual things, actually.
There we go.
Anyhow, yeah. So,
yeah,
by the way, real quick,
when you get your CDL, you should also get your CCW. That's easy.
By the way,
they should be issued in tandem.
The racism is delicious this morning.
Oh, it is. It is. It's rich and nutty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like white liberals.
Right. Very. Yes.
Rich and nutty.
Well, nope. I'm tracking. I am tracking. Okay, so Donald Trump has not yet been arrested.
He has not.
But he expects to be arrested.
Yesterday.
Everybody.
It didn't work out like that.
Well, okay, look. Donald Trump expects to be arrested, and basically everybody expects for Donald Trump to be arrested, more or less. And it's possible that it doesn't happen. It's possible that it stretches out for a few more weeks. So yeah, there's a lot going on, but it was believed to have been had yesterday, and it could just be some kind of like Uno reverse that he wasn't arrested yesterday. But I would not be surprised if it happens anytime between now and
the election.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's what's really going to happen. They're going to posture about this whole thing until Donald Trump wins the primary, and then they're going to arrest him right before the actual election.
Okay, so you say that in jest, but
not really.
Well,
I find it amusing, but I'm not kidding.
Right. Okay, so let's just back up. I looked it up here in the state of Georgia, where Chris and I are at. I was just curious, because I wanted to know the statute of limitations on basically all misdemeanors in the state of Georgia is 2 years. Statute of limitations on almost all felonies in the state of Georgia is 4 years. And it is similar all across the country, even when you're dealing with a lot of federal crimes. Like if you are an inmate and you shank another inmate, that's technically a federal crime. However, that has a 5-year statute of limitations. Okay? Now here's why I'm talking about the statute of limitations. Let's just assume for a second that Trump is guilty as sin, okay? He's outside of the statute of limitations. Like, there is nowhere the Stormy Daniels stuff can go, okay? None.
To be clear, and I may have to look something up, but if I understand it correctly, everything that he's accused of having done, he's accused of having done in, okay, Hova says 2016. And Alex McDonald says, I tried looking up the statute of limitations on campaign finance crimes and couldn't find any. That may be the reason that they're doing this whole sleight of hand where they try to convert what's clearly a perfectly legal exercise. Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. So on the face of it, let's assume for just a moment that Donald stooped Stormy and she signed an NDA and he paid her $130,000 to sign it. Right? Let's go ahead and take all three of those, which are basically the fact concerns in the case, and assume that he did all of those things.
Yeah, and used Michael Cohen as a facilitator.
And we'll even be extra generous and call him a cutout. There's no crime. None of those things was illegal.
Yeah, paying your mistress to shut the fuck up, for better or worse, is actually not abnormal behavior.
It may be shady. It may be disreputable. It may be something that we aren't fans of. In fact, I would say it is all of those things. But it's not a crime.
Well, not only is it not...
Cheating on your wife is not a crime unless you're enlisted.
Well, look, it's not only is it not a crime, but dare I say, wait, you paid a porn star for a fuck? No.
Right.
That happened?
Unless you're going to try to charge it as prostitution, then
and again, statute of limitations.
And And frankly, if you try to convert the charge to prostitution, forgetting for a moment the statute of limitations, the NDA kind of obviates that. And like, no, she was clearly paid for something completely distinct from the sexual activity itself.
So look, and here's what they're saying, basically, okay, that this payment happened, it happened during the campaign season, and that it was basically mislabeled. Either Cohen himself mislabeled it to hide it, or Cohen mislabeled it to at Donald Trump's behest in order to hide it. But I mean, just the same, that even though we're talking about $130,000, that's a misdemeanor. Okay, so we're talking about something that is a misdemeanor. That somehow, because they're trying to back up and say, well, actually, it was a campaign contribution, and so that makes it a felony, which it would be if that were true. I mean, there's a whole lot of if coming off this plan, okay? But calling it a felony because you've had to do this bizarre backwards maneuver. Alan Dershowitz said that he has never seen the legal code be recombined in this way ever before in his life. And you can love Alan, you can hate Alan, you can have mixed feelings about Alan, but Alan is an intelligent legal mind. And so for even Alan Dershowitz to be going, man, it's really weird that we're going to do this super specific, bizarre combination of statutes in order to prove that Donald Trump intended to basically cheat campaign finance law. And if it goes to trial, they're going to have this huge problem because Donald Trump is honestly going to be able to say, I didn't pay the bitch off because of my presidential campaign. I paid the bitch off because I wanted her to be quiet. The presidential campaign was just one of the reasons I wanted her to be quiet.
You don't pay a hooker for sex. You pay her to leave.
Oh my God. So anyhow, and look, and the thing is,
why are divorces so expensive?
Because they're worth it. Right, that one I know. Okay. Anyhow, but and here's the thing. Even if, okay, people pay one another money as compensation for ugly things all the time. Alex is saying somewhere else in the thread that there's stuff that happens right here in this county where people have paid hush money, and that's true.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that particular story.
Well, it happens pretty frequently. Like when you sue somebody, like if you get into a terrible car crash and you sue somebody and you get a judgment of $500,000, you didn't get the judgment of $500,000 and now you're rich. You got the judgment of $500,000 because everybody involved said, you know what? Instead of my client potentially facing legal ramifications, we'd rather pay the $500,000, make you whole, indemnify you, and then walk away. So even if there's some level of illegal activity that happened, like I could screw you over and then I could come back and I could say, you know what, Chris, how about I give you a couple $1,000s as an apology and we drop this?
Yeah, and I mean, if there's not a body involved, as in a dead body, one can fix a lot with a pile of money.
Exactly. So the
Rob, that's perfect.
So yeah, we're outside of the statute of limitations, you know, and we're doing this bizarre combination of legal statutes, and I mean, lest we not forget, Obama's DOJ already crawled all the way up Trump's ass over this.
Right.
And decided not to prosecute. And even if by some insane balls miracle, it goes to trial, I don't see how they get a conviction because, Your Honor, I'm rich. I pay women to shut up because I don't want my wife to leave me because I'm a greedy bastard.
No,
like,
in fairness, we are talking about a New York DA. That they chose not to pursue, that the Democrat-controlled, weaponized Department of Justice chose not to pursue criminal charges, in no way means there wasn't a crime committed.
No, look,
maybe the Donald just got himself a BLM bumper sticker for the duration of the investigation.
Well, look, and Alvin Bragg, himself, okay, has kind of a strange thing going on where, like, he's like, you know what, armed robbery, we'll reduce that to misdemeanor. So the guy is, he's, let's say, politically motivated, and there's this weird thing where, like, district attorneys, it's one thing for a district attorney to say, if you elect me as district attorney, I'm going to go hard on gang crime. It's another thing for a district attorney to get elected and say, if I get elected, I'm going to go hard on a specific person.
Right.
And it's no accident that this guy, Mr. Alvin Bragg, what a name for a DA, too. Like, you just sound like a prick. Yeah. DA Alvin Bragg, shut the fuck up. That's really your name. No. Anyhow, but yeah, look, it's the whole thing from top to bottom is it's a joke. And look, and I say all that to say, okay, everybody, please be careful. And when I say be careful, no, I'm sorry.
Keep going. Rob is killing it this morning.
Yeah, I'm trying not to read his comments because he's already made me drop my thread of thought a couple of times. Guys, be careful, okay? I'm going to take you back to January 6th. On January 7th, Chris and I had one of the most heated arguments we've ever had on this show. And there were a lot of the facts that I had wrong in that argument. Because, well, frankly, things looked a certain way. Now, the one thing that I maintain about January 6th is that it was a mistake because it's given the left every excuse it ever needed for the past couple of years. You probably have people in your life that even now still think, oh my God, we were this close to an insurrection.
And that was basically the thing we agreed on, is that the optics were terrible.
Right.
And I think that has panned out to be, oh, look at that. We were right about something.
Right, the optics were terrible, okay? I would not at all be surprised if all of this with Trump being arrested now, like, I feel like this glows in the dark so hard you can see it from outer space. I'm a full-blown tinfoil hat theory here. If you wanted an excuse to persecute your political opposition in this country, boy, this is it. This is it right here. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't protest. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be pissed. Frankly, even if you hate Donald Trump, you should hate what's happening to Donald Trump because it stinks. It's bullshit. His rights are being violated right in front of you. And love it or hate it, okay, we give a whole bunch of extra slack to our politicians. We built that into the system on purpose because if you're trying to get to Congress to have a really important vote, you didn't need to be in a position where getting a speeding ticket and getting arrested could stop you from doing your job. So for better or worse, our politicians are typically, let's be honest, exempt from normal criminal proceedings. So the fact that we're going to go backwards in the criminal code and to go after a former president is terrifying in and of itself. And I think that's on purpose. This seems like a situation where, well, frankly, just like January 6th, it turns out it was literally a mostly peaceful protest with a few misdemeanors committed here and there.
Misdemeanors? You mispronounced feds.
No, well, that's where I was going. that's where I was. As far as what happened organically, that's it. But then, only takes a few dozen feds, maybe a few Antifa types. Alex Jones was there, actually on a bullhorn, telling people, don't do this. This is what they want. And so I'm telling you now, look, guys, if it comes to it, be careful with the protesting. I might even suggest for the first couple of days not protesting. And if there's some big thing like, oh, meet at your Capitol and congregate on the steps of the governor's mansion,
Feds.
Yeah, no,
Feds.
maybe don't do that. Maybe don't do that at all. Look at the Gretchen Whitmer situation, just for example, like among everything else.
Feds.
Yeah. It is what it is, okay? I hate to be super. I have no proof, and I've total tinfoil hat, conspiracy theory. Oh my God, like Clockwork Elves.
No, Sergeant Major says Ashley Babbitt was murdered. Dad, you fundamentally misunderstand what murder is. Then, you have to remember that she was shot by a black man, and that's not murder anymore in this country. That's not how that works anymore. It used to be. Should be. But it's not.
Yeah, so, look, we talk about all this to say, like, be careful what you do. There are people in jail right now, like the QAnon shaman, the guy that I referred to as Red, White, and Woad. He's doing years in prison. And now, of course, after the fact, it's come out that the cops were escorting him around the fucking Capitol. Like, what?
Yeah, like, they obviously intentionally walked his ass up to the podium because that's where they wanted to get the photo op. Okay, we're about to have to wrap this up. Cameron's got places to be. I've got places to be. I want to hit what Alex said here. Don't protest at all. This is going to fail. Let it fail. I am right there with you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
In fact, I want to elaborate and take that a little bit further. And I don't think I'm going beyond what Alex has already thought of. Just a little beyond what is easily slapped into a text chat like the thread here. It's not. The indictment and arrest of Donald Trump is a win-win situation. There are two possible outcomes. It does fail, which I agree is the most likely outcome. It will fail, let it fail, and that failure will harm the enemy in significant ways, not least of which by having expended a great deal of political capital in order to pursue an unachievable aim. And that has value in and of itself. Now, let's assume it goes the other direction and it doesn't fail. They do indict Trump. They do arrest Trump. They do perp walk Trump.
It'll never
right?
be perp walk.
There's not a scenario in which this indictment leads to a conviction, because, as we've just detailed, not only was there not a crime, but even if the alleged crime had occurred, the statute of limitations has passed substantially, right? So even if they have the most possible success without further breaking the law, right, to actually achieve a conviction in these cases, that would require significant breaking of the law or rewriting of the law. And that's a separate problem. But assuming that we don't just rewrite the law just to hurt Donald Trump, which is itself a crime, then there's not an outcome that ends in a conviction and his elimination from eligibility for the presidency. What there is, however, is even more irrefutable evidence. And it may not be sufficient. It may not be sufficient irrefutable evidence to achieve the end that I would like to see, but it's another piece on the pile. Eventually, there has to come a point where no one can look at the system and say, we have a fair justice system. We do not have a two-tier justice system in the United States of America. It treats everyone fairly, and we all have equal protection under the law. Right? There will come a point where no reasonable person... No, we're already at that point. No reasonable person can make that statement today. No reasonable, intelligent person can say, we have a fair justice system that protects everyone equally under the law. There are a lot of people, theoretically 81 million of them.
Theoretically.
Because there were totally 160 million registered, qualified, legal voters.
Right.
Those totally existed. But theoretically, there are people who believe that we have a fair justice system that is completely in line under the 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law. They are wrong. Those people are delusional. There are people who believe we have the justice system that we say we have. Those people also believe that men can be women and that women can present valuable contributions in active combat. They are unintelligible and delusional. So, I'm ready to put a pin in it there so I can go put pants on and get to work.
Boy, the old broadcast joke. You really don't have to wear pants down there, do you? Yeah, look, long story short, don't protest outside. Don't do it. Don't go to Moab.
Don't go to Moab. Now, oh man, there's a whole nother show, a whole nother conversation on that. I don't remember what his name was. There was, I think it was one of the prosecutors in D.C. did an interview where he went on and on and on about how important it was that not only people involved in January 6th be indicted and eventually convicted, but that it be done super, super fast. And he went out of his way to explicitly say, in order to have the chilling effect of scaring people away from protesting at Joe Biden's inauguration. And just to be clear, that is a crime. That is the intentional, premeditated suppression of an individual's civil liberties under color of law. That is a crime. That prosecutor, whoever, I can't remember his name, that he is not in jail is an absolute affront to the idea of justice. And another point to prove what I was just saying about there being 81 million theoretical sociopaths who believe that we have a not two-tier justice system in this country. So that's where I'm gonna close this one out.
Yeah, do that, because I need to fill up my racism.
Me too. Y'all be safe. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.